More solo home runs and missed opportunities for our Chicago White Sox as they fell to the Texas Rangers 5-2 on the South Side and are now 12 games under 500. Lots going on before the game. Is this a one and done year for Pedro Grifol? Are White Sox players already asking to be traded? And Rick Hahn talks about October baseball. The White Sox remain very frustrating.
You are Locked On White Sox, your daily Chicago White Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Sox fans, welcome back to Locked On White Sox. Thank you for making Locked On White Sox your first listen each and every day. We're free and available on all platforms. Follow us on Twitter at Locked On Sox. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search Locked On White Sox. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Hey, I'm your host, Nick Morawski, a lifelong die-hard Chicago White Sox fan, recording this podcast just blocks from the ballpark in beautiful Bridgeport. You can find me on Twitter at Nick_GGTB. Locked On White Sox is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The White Sox take on the Texas Rangers on Tuesday. Dylan Cease is on the mound. Catch every pitch of the White Sox hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search White Sox. State of our White Sox. They are 31-43, just 5.5 games back in the AL Central. I just can't believe it. I don't even want to mention it because it is such a mirage. But you have to. 12 games under 500, only 5.5 games back. What a division. What a year. Sox fell to the Rangers 5-2. It was a bullpen game for the White Sox. I didn't think it was a horrible outing for Tanner Banks and the other arms. Bummer, a little iffy there, but just, it's not what we were looking for, not what we were anticipating, not what we were hoping for in the late June of 2023, but you get what you get. Sox offense had opportunities, but back-to-back solo home runs were really the only excitement. Sox were 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position, but that's nothing new. A failure to produce in those moments with guys on base in scoring position, that has been happening all season long. Definitely happened in Seattle. Got all the details of Monday's game later in this episode. So on Monday morning, MLB insider Jon Heyman was on 670 The Score, talking about Grifol's frustration with being asked about Jake Burger hitting 8th in the series finale against the Mariners. That frustration really showed, Heyman said on the Mully and Haw show on Monday morning. He had Burger batting 8th. I really don't know what to make of that other than he's frustrated. I don't know if he's frustrated with his bosses or the questions or what, but it wasn't a great look. He's supposed to be a disciplinarian, probably should show more some of that discipline on his own. It's nice we got a window into his frustration, but I would say if this year doesn't turn around, he could be a one and done. No matter what direction general manager Rick Hahn takes with the team, Heyman believes Grifol will at least avoid getting canned during the season. I would say they're giving him the year likely, Heyman said. But among the managers, I would say Marmol is probably in greater trouble based on the expectations in St. Louis and the performance of that team. But Grifol cannot be in great standing at this point. They have underachieved immensely. I know I say this every show, but they should be a decent team. They really should, and they have not been. I'm sure he's frustrated. I'm sure he's probably hearing it from his bosses, somebody above. This is probably a window into that. So, from that perspective, I guess that was good, but he really shouldn't be saying stuff like that. Again, the way Grifol commented on that situation with questioning the whole Jake Berger hitting eighth, the numbers would say he should be much higher, be getting at least 4 at bats, and Grifol went into this whole thing about he's gonna get his 4 at bats. We're gonna win. Berger only got 3 at bats, and then he ended that whole rant. I talked about it on the previous episode, but it bears repeating. Ended this rant with, if you don't like the lineups, basically just go talk to Jerry, which is such a ridiculous thing to say. And I do believe Heyman hit it right on the head. It's just pure frustration at this point from Pedro Grifol. This was an article from Bob Nightingale recently, and we know all about Bob Nightingale. And he is, I believe, a mouthpiece to the White Sox organization, namely Jerry. And this is the blurb from his recent stuff in USA Today. Several veterans in the Chicago White Sox organization have privately expressed that they would welcome a trade, and considering the way they are playing, may soon get their wish. None of the players, however, have formally asked the White Sox front office to trade them. So I think All-Star game is around mid, or at least the All-Star break is mid-July, and you've got the trade deadline August 1st. So the clock is ticking. I don't know if anything serious will happen until after the All-Star break. The Sox might wait, try to get the most for some of these players. If they do, honor some of these wishes by veteran players, if this is true from Bob Nightingale. But interesting stuff there. As always from Bob Nightingale, I sometimes look at it as that's basically what the front office is saying. Bob Nightingale just kind of puts his name on that. Prior to the game on Monday, Lance Lynn was placed on the bereavement list. Romy Gonzalez placed on the 10-day IL. Right-handed pitcher Nicholas Padilla recalled from AAA Charlotte, and we saw him on Monday. Infielder Jose Popeye Rodriguez recalled from Double-A Birmingham. Rodriguez, who was the club's number 6 prospect per MLB Pipeline. Rodriguez batted .238, .274, .429 with 9 doubles, 9 home runs, 25 RBIs, and 26 runs scored over 44 games with Birmingham this season. We did not see Rodriguez on Monday. Padilla, on the other hand, posted a 5.09 ERA with 28 strikeouts over 21 games with Charlotte in this season. He has made 1 appearance in 2 previous stints with the big league club this season, allowing 2 runs over 2 innings on May 10th in Kansas City. GM, our fearless leader, Rick Hahn, said it's still too early to peg White Sox's trade deadline sellers. Also continues to completely back rookie manager Pedro Grifol. Well, that's because he is a Hahn guy. Rick Hahn placed him in that position, and so, of course, you're going to say all the right things there. Tim Anderson was not in the lineup again. Reports are good, and he's day-to-day. It's not too bad, said Pedro Grifol. So Tanner Banks had the start against the Rangers on Monday. Tanner Banks was the first Chicago White Sox lefty starting pitcher since Dallas Keuchel, May 26, 2022. It snapped a string of 191 straight righty starts. The last time they had a longer stretch without a southpaw was 194 games from September 7th, 1933 to May 19th, 1935. That great stuff from Chris Kamka. It was not a horrible effort by the bullpen, just simply, in my mind, a good baseball team beating a bad baseball team on the South Side. More on that in a moment. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you with killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Game Time is the place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, theater, and more. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Our Chicago White Sox face off against the Texas Rangers once again on Tuesday. Catch every pitch of the White Sox hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search White Sox. Sox fell to the Rangers, of course, 5-2. June 19th was Monday's game, of course, 2023. Boy, things were supposed to be so much different when you think way back, maybe the year 2017, maybe 2019, maybe even thinking about 2020, and like, oh boy, we didn't do it this year. It was a weird year. It was a shortened year. We got bounced early, but man, in a couple of years, we're just going to be unstoppable. So here's your lineup on June 19th, 2023. Benintendi, Vaughn, Luis Robert Jr., Jimenez, Grandal, Berger, Frazier, Andrus, and Remillard. Not what I was expecting, but again, this is what we have to put on the field, and this is what we're dealing with right now. A lot of injuries going on with this White Sox team. So would we see Popeye Rodriguez anytime soon? This was the Sox plan for Rodriguez, per Vinny Duber of CHGO. Grifol said he can pinch run. He can play multiple positions. We have guys we are going to throw out there on a daily basis. If the opportunity comes up where he helps us win a game, that's when we'll use him. So I don't anticipate seeing him very often at all. It reminds me of when Lenyn Sosa came up, I believe it was last year, and the way kind of Tony La Russa handled that whole situation. Basically, not really giving him the time of day. He might have got one start during his short time with the club. That could be what happens with Rodriguez. We shall see. It's like, what are you going to do? You got Zach Remillard, who was the king of Seattle this past Saturday. You're going to play Remillard. You're going to switch Andrus to shortstop while TA is banged up here. And who knows? According to Grifol, if it's not too bad, he might be back soon. So this little stint by Popeye Rodriguez might not be much. We'll see. Some interesting stuff here, though, also from Pedro Grifol. This is what he had to say prior to Monday's game. I think everyone in that clubhouse thinks this division is up for the taking. Nobody seems to be running away with it. 5.5 games back is certainly a number that's attainable. Maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, we were 9.5 back. We've made up 4 games, and we haven't played our best baseball. So we're extremely optimistic. This thing will click for us. We've played a lot of close games, a lot of leverage games where a hit or walk here or there, and we're 3 or 4 games better. Everybody in that clubhouse is optimistic that we're going to put this together, and we're in striking distance of where we want to be. Should we be better? Probably. But we're not. This is where we are. We can only look at where we're at, continue to work and play baseball the way we feel we can. Yeah, a lot going on there in that quote from Grifol. He wants to kind of talk a little bit about the past, but he also wants to stay in the present. And that whole stuff about, close games, leverage games, yeah, that's what's going to be, your defining role, or your definition of a team, I guess, at the end of the day. It's like, well, those are the games you should be winning. You got to take the close games when you can get them. And this is not April and May. I mean, we're sitting here in late June. Yeah, you're 5.5 games back, but you're also 12 games under 500, and the numbers show it. I mean, the Sox are not a good team right now. I mean, they are what their record says, and it really felt like it on Monday. But then again, they were playing one of the best teams in all of baseball. Bottom second, Jake Berger with a 1-out double down the third base line. It was the second hit of the game for the White Sox. Frazier struck out on a high fastball out of the zone, 2 outs. Andrews lined to third, inning over. Top of third, Josh Jung of the Rangers, second hit of the game, and it was a 2-out solo home run. A 2-out, definitely a theme for the Rangers. Not a terrible pitch by Tanner Banks. Jung just went down and got a slider, crushed it into the left field seats. 2-0 Texas after 3. Banks after 3 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, no walks, 3 strikeouts, 53 pitches. Bottom third, I was thinking to myself, remember when the White Sox used to destroy left-handed pitching? The Rangers had a lefty on the mound, Heaney, but boy, he was deceptive, not overpowering at all, but hid the ball really well. Sox offense they didn't have a lot of answers for him, which is a theme. Sox with 2 hits, 3 strikeouts, 0 walks after 3. Top of 4, Padilla came in. Another 2-out run for the Rangers, 3-0 Texas. 2 hits after 5 innings for the White Sox, 0 walks, 6 strikeouts. Things did get interesting in the bottom of the 6th inning, back-to-back home runs. Andrew Vaughn hit his 10th, and Luis Robert Jr. his 18th. It was 3-2 Rangers. Top of 7, more 2-out runs for the Rangers with Aaron Bummer on the mound, base hit through the right side with the bases loaded. They got their 2 back, 5-2 Texas. Bottom of 8, Sox had an opportunity, 2 on, 1 out. Benintendi and Luis Robert Jr. had base hits. Then Aloy got on after an error in the infield, so you got bases loaded. Here we go. Yaz struck out on a nasty curveball. Berger had a 3-0 count, and he struck out. Grifol went with Kendall Graveman in the 9th inning with the White Sox down 3. Very interesting choice in terms of bullpen management. Again, going with a guy that's probably going to be, your 9th inning guy in close games, with Liam Hendricks on the IL, and you went with him in that situation. Okay. So bottom of 9, Frazier and Andrews with base hits to start things off. First and second, nobody out for the Sox. Remillard struck out. Very tough slider from Texas's Will Smith. Benintendi, a low liner caught by Simeon. 2 outs, and then Andrew Vaughn ground out. Game over. Banks, his final line, 3 in 2/3, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 0 walks, 3 strikeouts. It went Padilla, then Schultens, Bummer, who had 2 earned runs, Kelly and Graveman. White Sox offense, again, just 2 runs, both solo home runs, 9 hits, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. And the Sox were 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Somehow they got to figure out how to get a guy on and then blast one out of the ballpark, because this stretch of solo home runs, again, it's nice. It's nice to be hitting the ball out of the ballpark, and the weather is going to, I think, cooperate the rest of the week in the 80s, warm. Ball should be flying out for probably both teams, but man, Sox have got to find a way to have people on base when you have a power surge. Should be a good pitching matchup Tuesday night. And Rick Hahn opened up his mouth prior to Monday's game. More on that in a moment. Sox Rangers back at it on Tuesday. Dylan Cease on the hill. Dylan Cease has a 3-0 record with an ERA of 2.66 and 29 strikeouts in 4 appearances versus the Rangers in his career. Had one start against the Rangers last season, went 6 innings, gave up just 2 hits, 1 run, 3 walks, and 5 strikeouts. Dylan Cease is 3-3 with an ERA of 4.31 and 91 strikeouts in 15 appearances this season. Last time we saw Cease, he pitched against the LA Dodgers last Thursday. He went 5 1/3, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, and 10 strikeouts. Cease did not allow a hit until Mookie Betts singled with 2 outs in the 3rd inning. The Dodgers did not put a runner in scoring position until Betts singled with 2 outs in the 5th inning on the heels of a walk by Chris Taylor. Dodgers trailed 4-0 after 5 innings. And then Ronaldo Lopez gave up a grand slam to Taylor in the 6th. And you know the rest of that story. Those were those 4 solo home runs the Sox had in that last Cease start, a pair of back-to-back jacks. So, Cease went 5 1/3 last time he threw. I don't think he'd be terribly happy with that. With the way Griffol's using the bullpen on Monday, it's been taxed. It was taxed this past weekend in Seattle. I need Cease to go 6. Can you go 7? 6 would be good, though. A solid 6 innings all the way through. That would be good. That would be a good start pitching wise. Now, offense somehow have got to figure it out. But again, Texas is a tough team. They're tough offensively. They're tough on the mound. So Rick Hahn did talk to the media before Monday, and I gave you a little bit earlier in the episode of what he had to say. Not ready to make decisions as of yet regarding the trade deadline. He has got Pedro Griffol's back. This was a little bit more from Rick Hahn before the game. Making the playoffs is important, but the goals are loftier than that. When we judge ultimately what happens as we get much closer to August 1st than we are now, how we project our ability to not only win the division, but to make an impact in October is going to factor in. And of course, he's talking about different decisions by this upcoming trade deadline. And talking about October baseball, talking about making an impact in October, about going above and beyond winning just the division. It's laughable stuff. He's got to say something, right? He's got to come out and say something. But honestly, like if you've been watching this team consistently, and I'm with it, and I'm in it, and every inning, every game, sometimes I got to play a little catch up on the weekends, but still, this team does not scream a division winning team or beyond. They are in this division, this forgiving division, and that games back, unfortunately, is causing Griffol now and Rick Hahn and the Sox organization to say the things that they are saying. But the quality of baseball, the type of baseball we're saying, with the type of players that are being thrown out there here in late June 2023, I don't trust that type of product. I don't think it's sustainable. And with all these injuries and, look, again, like they might hang around. They might hang around throughout June and July because nobody is putting the White Sox away. The Twins continue to flounder up at the top. And, again, like the way the Sox have been playing, they should be 9 or 10 games out of first place. And we're not even going to have these conversations about winning the division or going beyond and making an impact in October. What are you talking about, Rick Hahn? Again, frustrating. As I said at the top of this episode, this organization, this team is just so frustrating. They absolutely can't put everything together consistently. But you see in moments like on Monday where the Rangers, they didn't do anything flashy. I mean, they got their runs. They had a home run off of, a bullpen game of the White Sox. But that was all they needed because they were able to put everything else in place from a pitching standpoint to make those 5 runs stick against, a Sox team that just is really searching for just answers. And I think it's coming from, the coaching staff, the front office, and the players looking around of just like, how did we get here? How did this happen? So again, the Sox try one more time on Tuesday night with Dylan Cease on the hill. Folks, thank you so very much for making this podcast part of your daily routine. You can find the Locked On White Sox podcast absolutely everywhere you find your podcast. So we're on Twitter at Locked On Sox. You can find me on Twitter at Nick_GGTB. Hey, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Get any questions, comments you have in for a future mailbag episode that might be coming up later this week. LockedOnSox@gmail.com. I'd love to hear your ideas of what this White Sox team should do with the trade deadline coming up in about a month and a half. What would you like to see from this White Sox team? Sox take on the Rangers on Tuesday at 35th and Shields. Catch every pitch of the White Sox hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search White Sox. Hey, thanks for making Locked On White Sox your first listen every day. And hey, everydayers, on the next episode, I will recap Dylan Cease's outing. Hopefully be celebrating a White Sox winner. Appreciate you making time for the Locked On White Sox podcast. I'm Nick Morawski. Until next time, go Sox.